Welcome back. It's unclear if the Ministers of Police and Defence will extend the Army's stay in Cape Town's gang-plagued areas. The South African National Defence Force's mandate in the city comes to an end today. The Army, as you know, was sent in to help police 2 months ago. Let's track developments for you now. Our reporters Aisha Ismail and Nobisutu Hejana are in Manenberg and Nyanga, respectively. Aisha, let's begin with you in Manenberg. So there's been some touring and froing around whether the Army will in fact end their stay in Cape Town today. What's the latest on that score?
Well, it's still unclear whether the Army will withdraw today. What we do know is that the Premier of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, wrote to President Cyril Ramaphosa asking him to extend the deployment of the Army. Now, we also know that the Minister of Defence has acknowledged that the Premier has written to the President, but she says that there is a process that needs to take place first. She says they will have to do a thorough assessment to see exactly if there are sufficient grounds for the Army to be extended, whether there was any, whether keeping the Army here would make any difference, and also that this is really a cabinet decision that needs to be made. So again, there is a process that needs to be followed. I've been speaking to people here in Manenberg, old and young, male and female, and it's interesting. There are different reactions from different people. Some saying that the presence of the Army did make a bit of a difference, others saying that it didn't make a difference at all. People saying that they are able to sleep a little bit easier at night knowing that the Army is around. Others saying, but we hear the gunshots during the day and we hear gunshots at night as well. And what's interesting, Michelle, is that I've also been talking to a few kids who are not at school because it's apparently school holidays now, and one 9-year-old was able to rattle off a number of names of known gang members and even of the main gangs here, and told me in which areas I would be able to go and areas that I'm not able to go. And then he said to me, "Auntie, you can go to that particular area because it's quiet there because there is a ceasefire." And I asked him what a ceasefire means, and he said the two rival gangs made peace. So little kids are fully au fait, they're aware of what's happening in their area. I also asked them what they think needs to be changed in their area, and they said that they need more employment and they need more opportunities. But with me I have a guest. It's the local Molana here in Manenberg, Molana Nuruddin, who gives us another perspective on the Army being deployed in Manenberg. Now, Molana, we were talking earlier. Do you think that the presence of the Army made a difference here in Manenberg?
I think the Army have made have brought some stability in Manenberg because the people could, sleep properly at night. The people can go to the shop, knowing that the Army is coming, to Manenberg. I mean, the Army, from the time the Army was deployed by President Ramaphosa, I mean, there was fear instilled in gangsters, in drug lords that are selling these drugs, because the Army is coming. I think the Army brings that, stabilizing, that stability to our community.
But we've been seeing videos on social media of the rival gangs still shooting at each other, and where we see innocent people being caught in the crossfire despite the presence of the Army.
Yeah, from March 2016 until April 2017, the crime in Manenberg was 1,596 crimes. From April 2017 until March 2018, the crime was, decreased, from 1,596, it was 1,509 crimes, So the crime has decreased in our community. The crime has decreased. Reason being because of, of the Army that have been deployed, because of the prayers that has been taking place in different hotspots by the Christian faith, by the Muslim faith, and so forth. There has been some stabilizing in our community.
Thank you so much for your time, Molina. So clearly mixed reactions from people here in Manenberg, some saying that the army has made a difference, others saying no difference at all. But clearly these are socio-economic problems experienced here. People need jobs, people need unemployment, and children need after-school activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just mentioned, the young people so affected by this scourge, Aisha, and of course our colleague Nobisutu Hejana is tracking that part of the story for us as well in Nyanga. Nobisutu, there's been so much discussion around young people and perhaps what the city and what government is doing for the young people of the Cape Flats. There's a number I've got before me here, 350,000 youths that are not in school, that are not in jobs and are not receiving any kind of training. So yes, might be a good idea to bring the army in, but is it a temporary fix?
Well, Michelle, throughout the conversations I've been having with community leaders as well as the residents here in Nyanga, they're saying that the 2 months was not enough. It was a short period of time for the army to be deployed here, and as well we cannot expect much change to be done in the area. When I spoke to some of the residents, they were saying that even though they were here, and some are saying that they've seen a bit of a change where the army was around, but it was coming at certain times, maybe twice a week for 3 hours a day. So it is not enough. I spoke to one community leader who's also a member of the CPF, who was saying that they do work in hand with the police to try and prevent crime in the area. They're saying that they are appealing to the government to extend the deployment, even if it's for 9 more months in these particular areas of the Western Cape.
Thanks very much for that, Nobisutu. And Aisha, before we let both of you go, have you, in your coverage of the story, spoken to the city of Cape Town, spoken to government about whether this is indeed a temporary fix, whether there are plans in the pipeline specifically to address this scourge of youth unemployment? As I just mentioned to Nobisutu, 350,000 young people, they're not receiving any form of education or training, no chances of getting a job.
In all fairness, Michelle, the Minister of Defence did make it very clear at the beginning when the army was about to be deployed that this was a temporary solution. She said that the army was here to bring stability to the areas and that it was not a solution.
All right, well, thanks very much to both of you. That's my colleagues Aisha Ismail and Nobisutu Hejana. They are in Manenberg and in Nyanga, respectively, as we continue to track the story around whether the army will indeed be withdrawn from those 10 troubled areas on the Cape Flats.